Atlantis was never merely a myth. That's a narrative crafted to divert your understanding. From the very first moment you encountered the name, it was categorized alongside fables and imagination, sitting comfortably between the likes of unicorns and hidden treasures. It's seen as a tale rather than a reality, a curiosity over substance. But consider this. What if that tale wasn't a fabrication? What if Atlantis genuinely existed? Furthermore, what if it serves as the crucial element in our spiritual development? A fragment of our essence intentionally obscured, twisted, and buried under countless years of distraction. They've claimed Atlantis sank beneath the waves. Yet what they omitted is that its essence has always lingered within your memory, concealed in plain sight. Not as a geographical location to rediscover, but as a consciousness awaiting recognition. This discussion transcends sunken cities and submerged temples. It's about a lost vibrational essence. If you're here, it's a sign that a part of you already understands this. Atlantis, the very mention of it ignites a charge, a spark reminiscent of something ancient, potent, and near. You know the tale well, a grand civilization, thriving with wisdom and strength obliterated in a mere day and night. This version originates from Plato, the esteemed Greek philosopher who lived over 2 millennia ago. Many dismiss his narrative as mere metaphor, a cautionary fable. But what if it was something more? What if Plato wasn't making up Atlantis, but recalling it from memory? In his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato asserted that the account was handed down from Egyptian priests through Solon, one of the wisest lawmakers of Athens. Their tales spoke of a vast land beyond the Pillars of Heracles, now known as the Strait of Gibraltar, a territory more evolved than was recognized at the time, which ascended in might only to fall into decay. Yet instead of accepting Plato's word as truth, numerous generations of scholars dismissed his descriptions as allegorical, merely stories meant to convey philosophical notions. But ponder this. Why would such a revered thinker embed intricate details if the intent was solely to craft fiction? Plato chose clarity. He articulated the details of Atlantis with great accuracy, covering its geography, architecture, societal framework, and, most significantly, its core values. He referred to it as a nation founded on divine principles, where spiritual and material existence were once harmonized. He also recounted its downfall, which stemmed not from external threats but from within its own ranks. Greed supplanted virtue, and ego overshadowed wisdom. This disruption between spiritual integrity and human corruption ultimately led to its demise. This narrative is not merely a historical account, it's a cautionary tale. Yet Plato was not the sole voice. If you look around the globe, you'll find resonances of Atlantis apparent in various cultures. The Mayans recounted tales of a lost territory called Alan, believed to have sunk beneath the waves. Hindu scriptures mention a sophisticated society known as Kumari Kandam, consumed by the ocean. Indigenous peoples of the Pacific talk about Lemuria, another ancient civilization lost in the mists of time. Even early Egyptian manuscripts suggest a forgotten age that predates dynastic Egypt, a golden time that vanished without explanation. These are not mere coincidences. They represent fragments of a worldwide memory covered by layers of conquest, interpretation, and mockery. There's an underlying reason why these narratives share a common thread. An enlightened society that crumbled when it strayed from its spiritual foundation. We are not discussing myths. Rather, we are addressing collective memory. This encoded memory has been transmitted through tales, as history texts often ignore them. But why conceal it? Because Atlantis symbolizes more than just a city. It embodies human potential. It reflects what we were once capable of achieving and what we can attain again. For those who hold power, there is nothing more threatening than a populace that remembers its own strength. Certain truths are too sensitive for this platform, which is why we established Insights Academy, our complimentary newsletter that reveals insights that cannot be shared here. Sign up through the link below and receive a free copy of the Kybalion while it's still available. Mainstream history often depicts time as a linear progression, suggesting we are perpetually moving forward. But what if that's merely an illusion? What if we have traversed this ground before? Possessing advanced technology, spiritual connections, flourishing in ways that contemporary society struggles to comprehend before everything fell apart due to arrogance and imbalance. Could it be that our current world, filled with screens and systems, is merely a shadow of what Atlantis once represented? If you've ever looked around and sensed something essential is absent, something ancient and profound, you're not imagining it. That sensation, that yearning, is a thread drawing you back to a truth you have always known, even if it was never explicitly shared with you. This is not simply about nostalgia, it's about awakening. Because Atlantis is not merely a tale of the past, it serves as a reflection of the present, and once you begin to perceive it clearly, it becomes impossible to ignore. We have been conditioned to regard technology as external, wires, machinery, and cold metals designed for efficiency and convenience. However, the technology of Atlantis was fundamentally different from anything we understand today. It wasn't created for dominance or diversion. Instead, it was designed for harmony. The technology of Atlantis was inherently spiritual. It was not merely a tool for use, but an experience to connect with, a resonance uniting matter and mind, creating a bridge between the tangible and the divine. Envision a civilization where energy was not taken from the earth through harm, but guided by intention. In such a society, temples served not just as places of worship, but as frequency chambers enhancing sound, light, and vibration to elevate the soul. Here, crystals were not simply decorative pieces, but living entities, aware instruments crafted to store knowledge, conduct energy, and facilitate healing and evolution. Many esoteric teachings, from theosophy to Lemuran and Atlantean wisdom, alongside the insights of Edgar Cayce, suggest that Atlantis cultivated a profound spiritual science that intertwined consciousness with technology. They possessed the ability to channel energy through sound vibrations, sacred geometry, and the innate qualities of stones. Pyramids, constructed with precise laser-like accuracy, were not merely tombs, but were indeed power sources. Obelisks were not just monuments, they functioned as tuning forks. Crystals, particularly clear quartz and other varieties abundant in the Atlantean territory, were thought to energize entire cities, not via fossil fuels or wires, but by means of harmonic resonance and light. These were not just tales, they represented sophisticated methods of manipulating frequency far ahead of current scientific understanding. Sound played a pivotal role. They recognized that the universe consists of vibrations, and that everything, thoughts, emotions, bodies, planets, has its own frequency. By employing particular tones, they were able to alter consciousness, cure ailments, and even levitate objects. Ancient Sanskrit writings refer to mantras that can change reality. Egyptian temples resonate with chants that align the chakras. Tibetan singing bowls continue to embody traces of this ancient wisdom. Atlantis didn't originate these truths, it preserved them. Yet, as time passed, ego began to take precedence, and the pursuit of power overshadowed purpose, leading to the misuse of this knowledge. What was once revered became tainted. Crystals once intended for healing were instead utilized for control. Sound that was initially harnessed for elevation became a tool for manipulation. Some sources indicate that in the final days of Atlantis, the very instruments that enhanced their awareness were the same ones that brought chaos. They sought to force energy to submit to their will, rather than harmonize with wisdom. This imbalance, this corruption of sacred technology, hastened their downfall. This isn't mere fiction, it serves as a reflection. Today, we hold devices that emit frequencies we barely grasp. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 5G, all these unseen vibrations flow through our bodies and homes daily. We are enveloped by frequencies, yet remain detached from the truths that once steered them. Atlantean technology did not depend on code or displays. It was vibrant, alive, and in harmony with the rhythms of the earth and cosmos. The reason this wisdom was concealed is that it challenges the core of what we have been conditioned to accept as truth. If you realize that your body operates as a frequency device, that your voice possesses the ability to heal, and your mind can direct energy, how might that transform your existence? The residents of Atlantis weren't deities. They were individuals who awakened to their true essence, and now we are starting to remember that essence once again. This discussion doesn't revolve around crystals displayed on shelves or soothing sound baths. It's about unlocking the potential that lies dormant within you. The technology of Atlantis wasn't fabricated, it was an intrinsic part of their being. As we stray further from our inner selves, we forget that true power emanates not from the tools we use, but from the consciousness that fuels them. Atlantis didn't decline due to a natural calamity. That's merely the narrative history adopts to keep the saga superficial. Yes, ancient accounts mention earthquakes, floods, and the island disappearing beneath the waves. Yet, that was simply the concluding chapter. The true disintegration commenced long before the earth shook, when the spirit of the people began to wane. The cause of Atlantis's downfall wasn't nature. It stemmed from the abuse of power and a spiritual decline. A society that once thrived in harmony with higher principles started to crumble from within. For millennia, Atlantis stood as a symbol of divine balance, where the populace was in tune with the cosmic order. Their technological advancements were guided by wisdom, and their leaders were selected not for ambition, but for their purity of heart. They understood that all systems of governance, science, and spirituality should serve the soul. Yet over time, fissures emerged. Curiosity morphed into arrogance, and the exploration of the self transformed into an obsession with control. The Atlanteans, once humble co-creators with the forces of nature, began to harbor the belief that they could dominate it. The spiritual elite, the priest-kings, scholars, and sages became divided. Some continued on the path of light, others directed their focus inward, ensnared by the allure of manipulation, ego, and division. This wasn't a battle in the conventional sense. It was an energetic fracture, a chasm between elevated awareness and base desires. Once that split established itself, it spread rapidly. The advanced technologies that had once been harnessed for healing and upliftment were repurposed for surveillance, weaponization, and the accumulation of power. The energetic equilibrium that had sustained Atlantis began to unravel. The earth did not retaliate in anger, but rather in inevitability. When the spiritual foundation disintegrates, the material realm inevitably follows. In Casey's channeled messages, he referenced the sons of the Law of One and the sons of Baalil, two philosophical and spiritual factions within Atlantis. One faction championed unity, divine alignment, and serving others. The other favored materialism, self-serving interests, and the exploitation of life force for personal advantage. Over centuries, that tension escalated until it ultimately tipped the balance. The ensuing destruction wasn't a singular act of fury, it was the culmination of an energetic imbalance that could no longer be sustained. And this is where it becomes unsettling, because their narrative is our own. Just look around us. We inhabit a time of tremendous power, yet we are more disconnected than ever from the essence of that power. We have achieved technological wonders, but we have lost sight of the wisdom necessary to steward them. We manipulate energy, time, and biology, yet our mental well-being is deteriorating. Our bond with nature is diminishing, and our comprehension of spirit is either ridiculed or commercialized. Sound familiar? Atlantis isn't simply a forgotten city in the depths of the ocean. It symbolizes the very choice we confront today. We stand on the same precipice, facing the identical temptation to harness consciousness for control instead of service, to construct rather than align, and to dominate rather than co-create. The same divide is widening between those who remember the law of unity and those pursuing the illusion of control. And that's precisely why the tale of Atlantis has been deemed a myth. If we were to take it genuinely, if we truly grasped its meaning, it would compel us to confront ourselves. It would reveal that what transpired in the past could indeed occur again. Right now, we are making choices about which version of history we will relive. The demise of Atlantis was not a punishment, it was a consequence. It stemmed from a civilization losing sight of the source of its own strength, a society that soared to remarkable heights by remembering its true nature, but ultimately fell by deciding to forget. This warning isn't just ancient, it is timeless. It's not rooted in fear, it pertains to choice. Those who gain from neglecting history are the ones who write it. In relation to Atlantis, the act of forgetting was never accidental, it was intentional. What if the narrative wasn't lost to time, but rather hidden by design? What if the wisdom of Atlantis didn't simply vanish beneath the waves, but was systematically obscured to keep humanity in slumber? For Atlantis doesn't solely challenge historical narratives, it threatens the very foundation of our self-perception. After its fall, it's said that Atlantis's survivors spread across the globe, not merely as displaced individuals, but as carriers of knowledge. They brought with them remnants of what once constituted sacred sciences, cosmic wisdom, and spiritual practices that aligned with divine laws. These survivors didn't fade into obscurity, rather, they became the unseen architects of history. They established the mystery schools in Egypt, embedding knowledge within temples, pyramids, and oral traditions. They didn't broadcast their insights from high places. They veiled them in symbols, narratives, and structures that only the enlightened could decipher. Observe the architectural feats of ancient Egypt, the precision of the pyramids, the metaphorical significance of the hieroglyphs, the way monuments align with celestial rhythms. These creations weren't the result of primitive cultures, they echo a bygone era, with traces of Atlantean wisdom etched in stone. The Sphinx, aligned with the rising sun during the spring equinox, is much older than we have been led to believe. Experts contend that the water erosion on it does not correspond with its designated time frame. Why is this significant? Because if the timeline is inaccurate, then the entire historical account we've formulated is also flawed. The priests in ancient Egypt were aware of this. The initiates within the mystery schools were trained to retain knowledge not just intellectually, but at a spiritual level. They engaged with vibration, color, geometry, and breath. They didn't worship deities. Instead, they explored universal laws, the principles governing energy, thought, manifestation, and consciousness. These were the very laws that the Atlanteans lived by before they became lost to them. Then, a transformation occurred. Empires emerged, religions took shape, and with this came a new order of control. Power was consolidated not through wisdom, but through doctrine, libraries were destroyed, and teachings were distorted. Those who retained the knowledge were persecuted as heretics, witches, or lunatics. The Roman Empire, the Church, colonial regimes. They didn't merely conquer territories, they aimed to conquer memory. What couldn't be erased was reinterpreted as myth. Atlantis became a figment of imagination. Lemuria was dismissed as a fairy tale. The teachings of Hermes were watered down into superstition. Esoteric traditions were either obliterated or forced underground. The wisdom was never truly lost. It was concealed. Concealed within symbols, within language, and most importantly, within each of us. The most significant cover-up didn't occur in textbooks or temples. It transpired in the human consciousness. When people are persuaded to see themselves as ordinary, fragile, and disconnected from their source, they never postulate the critical questions. They won't pursue what has been buried within them. Instead, they'll search for answers within external systems rather than their inner wisdom. That's the snare, and it has functioned for centuries. Yet now cracks are beginning to appear. Individuals are awakening, recalling knowledge they never learned. They are being drawn to symbols, sounds, and stories that they cannot articulate. They feel the urge not just to believe in Atlantis, but to remember it. And when enough individuals start to awaken to this truth, the established narrative can no longer withstand it. This endeavor goes beyond the mere rewriting of history for the sake of curiosity. It is fundamentally about reclaiming your birthright. Atlantis transcends being just an ancient tale. It serves as a crucial fragment of your spiritual essence. This essential part was concealed, not to shield you from the truth, but rather to guard the existing system against you uncovering it. While not everyone may resonate with this, those who do, those who have always sensed an enigmatic void, those who feel they don't quite fit in here, often carry a deep, ancient legacy within. This legacy is older than your current lifetime, even older than the world as you perceive it. The essence of Atlantis thrives not solely in historical accounts or ruins, it resides within us. If you've journeyed to this point, it might just be alive in you. There are certain souls that navigate through life with an unwavering awareness that something crucial is absent, not in a material sense, but spiritually. You've endeavored to adhere to the blueprint society has laid out for you, pursue education, secure employment, chase aspirations, but those dreams have felt lacking, disconnected, as though they were crafted for another. That yearning, that restless energy, is not a deficiency. It is a signal, a gentle echo from a past existence, reaching out across time to remind you of your previous experiences. Many esoteric teachings refer to reincarnated Atlanteans, souls who thrived during the zenith and decline of Atlantis, now returning to assist in elevating consciousness and avert humanity from repeating its mistakes. These messages aren't mere flights of fancy aimed at the spiritually curious. They are intended for those who are spiritually aware. Your affinity for ancient wisdom is not coincidental. You are in the process of remembrance. You find yourself attracted to crystals, energy practices, ancient symbols, and sacred geometry, not because they are fashionable, but because your inner self instinctively recognizes how to engage with them. You may have sensed your heightened sensitivity, feeling the emotions of others more acutely than many around you. You absorb energy in spaces, intuitively see through dishonesty, and often feel drained by shallow exchanges. Society frequently categorizes this as being over the top. Yet, what if it's the opposite? What if you are not too intense, but more alert than the majority? This amplified sensitivity is not a flaw. It's an echo of an age-old wisdom. The Atlanteans were profoundly connected to vibrations, feelings, and instincts. You are not flawed. You are awakening to your truth. Maybe you've always sensed an attraction to ancient cultures, sacred sites, or symbols that resonate in your mind, even if their significance eludes you. These occurrences are not mere coincidences, they are echoes of the past. The more you pursue them, the more they begin to unveil what has been lying latent. The dreams that carry the weight of memories, the abilities you've never formally acquired, yet inherently understand. The truths that vibrate throughout your entire being, even when those around you fail to grasp them. You don't require outside validation of your identity. Your awareness comes from within. It always has. Reincarnated Atlanteans are not here to be superior. They are not here to spearhead cults or establish religions. Their function is nuanced but essential. They embody the roles of healers, truth-seekers, disruptors of the norm, individuals who feel deeply and challenge everything. Their existence on Earth at this moment is not a coincidence. As consciousness evolves, they are being activated subtly, powerfully, and as a collective. Their purpose is not to reconstruct Atlantis in a physical sense, but to align with its vibrational essence. They aim to embody the same balance between spirit and matter that once characterized that civilization, and to remind others that this level of awareness has not been lost, it has merely been forgotten. You don't need a label or permission. You don't even need to have certainty. If any part of this resonates with you, if it strikes a chord that goes beyond words, then you already possess the insight. You don't recall through intellect. You remember through resonance. And if you feel your entire being leaning in right now, it's not mere curiosity, it's recognition. You are not here by chance. This message didn't just find you, you answered its call. The legacy of Atlantis is not behind you, it's stirring within you. Every seeker reaches a moment in their journey when their inquiry shifts. The question transforms from whether Atlantis existed to considering if you have been carrying its essence all along. Initially, it may be faint, a dream that persists longer than it ought to, a discussion that resonates with a sense of familiarity. You're drawn to the cosmos, ancient writings, frequencies, and teachings that defy explanation by your logical mind, yet your soul comprehends them effortlessly. This isn't mere imagination, it's a recollection. The Atlantean consciousness wakes not through mere knowledge, but through vibration. In Atlantis, the mind was intricately linked with the soul. Intellect and intuition functioned in harmony. Thought served as an instrument of consciousness, not a constraint. To awaken the Atlantean consciousness today means to reclaim that harmony, to recognize that your awareness transcends the confines of this reality. The Atlanteans grasped what modern science is just beginning to uncover, that the mind is not merely a creation of the brain. It exists as a field, a frequency, a connection between the visible and the invisible. And that connection resides within you still. Each time you meditate and sense your awareness extending beyond your physical form, you are re-entering that frequency. Every time you synchronize your breath with your intentions, utilize sound to alter your state, or opt for stillness over noise, you are re-establishing a way of being that has been stifled, ridiculed, and forgotten, yet never entirely lost. It dwells in your biology, your energy field, your inner knowing. You don't awaken the Atlantean consciousness by forcefully trying harder. You do so by tuning in. Stillness transforms into a gateway. Breath becomes a key. Movement becomes a memory. As you clear away the programming that has limited you, fear, separation, constraint, you create space for what has always existed within. And what returns is not merely information, it is resonance. You start to recall the ability to listen without the act of hearing, to observe without the need to look, and to sense without needing to justify. The state of consciousness in Atlantis was vast. It focused not on dominating others, but on achieving inner harmony. Each person was regarded as a vital point within a broader network of energy interlinked with all. the earth, the cosmos, and the essence of all existence. Human experiences were intertwined with the divine, serving as a pathway to it. Awakening the Atlantean mindset today involves embracing that awareness. It encompasses recognizing that your thoughts influence frequency, your feelings shape reality, and your beliefs act as tuning forks for the world you inhabit. This journey may not always be easy. As outdated belief systems dissolve, it can feel as though you're losing your balance. Friendships may fade, interests may evolve. You might find it increasingly difficult to endure the noise that once surrounded you. This is part of the process. You are not disassembling, you are breaking through. The Atlantean journey isn't a straight path. It is spiral and circuitous, presenting challenges. Yet with each return you delve deeper into truth. You are not merely seeking to escape the world, but to transform it, to illuminate areas shrouded in confusion, to embody the essence of remembrance so thoroughly that others can sense it too, without the need for words. That's how the Atlantean mindset proliferates, not through coercion, but through resonance. Not by preaching, but by being present. It all begins with a simple question resonating through time. What if I already know? If Atlantis were merely a fable, no one would care about your belief in it. No institutions would strive to dismiss it. No academics would scoff so vehemently. And no structures would be created to distract you from it. Yet they do, and that speaks volumes. The erasure of Atlantis is not about whimsy. It's rooted in fear. Not your fear, but theirs. Because recalling Atlantis doesn't just rewrite ancient narratives, it reshapes your identity. It awakens a part of you that fosters unpredictability and freedom, and unrestrained minds are challenging to govern. The contemporary world has been crafted to prevent you from recalling these truths. You find yourself surrounded by diversions. You're inundated with data, yet deprived of true insight. From the moment you arise, your thoughts are drawn outward. Alerts, headlines, deadlines, and a continuous din. This is not by chance, it's intentional. If people are kept occupied, they won't delve into profound inquiries. If they are entertained, they won't pursue the truth. If they are kept consuming, they won't remember their original purpose for being here. This structure is not merely physical, it's psychological. You have been conditioned to perceive reality through a constricted viewpoint shaped by media, educational systems, and institutions that gain from your forgetfulness. You have been instructed to trust solely that which is quantifiable, purchasable, and explainable. Everything beyond that, intuition, energy, ancient knowledge, gets dismissed as insanity. You're not delusional for sensing there's more to existence. Society has conditioned you to feel that you're irrational if you voice these thoughts. The reality is, the wisdom of Atlantis never faded. It was concealed with layers of scorn. That's how power is suppressed, not by annihilation, but through discrediting it. The rationale is straightforward. Should enough individuals recall the true essence of Atlantis, the prevailing system would falter. This system flourishes on disconnection from the earth, from one another, and from your own inner wisdom. In contrast, Atlantis was founded on unity, coherence, and spiritual sovereignty. That represents the real threat. What occurs when individuals awaken to the understanding that they don't require permission to embrace the truth? That their bodies are sanctuaries, their intuition is intelligence, and their thoughts are potent creative forces. What happens when people recognize they are not mere consumers in a vast machine, but co-creators within a vibrant universe? The system crumbles, not through force, but through its own irrelevance. Because once you reclaim your power, you cease to relinquish it to others. This is the reason the most powerful truths often exist in plain sight, disguised as tales or imagination. It's simpler to disregard something than to defend against its awakening. That's how Atlantis transformed into a story told at bedtime. If people recognized it for what it truly represents, a reflection of who we were and who we could potentially become, it would spark a force that cannot be contained. We inhabit a time of remarkable knowledge, yet also profound ignorance. We have mastered the art of splitting atoms, yet we struggle to find stillness. We create machines that outpace our thinking while forgetting the essence of feeling. Amid the overwhelming noise, the memory persists, gently pulsing, quietly present in dreams, synchronicities, and that undeniable sense that our purpose extends beyond mere survival and the rote emulation of someone else's definition of success. Today, the greatest act of defiance is to not only recall the truths that have been obscured from you, but also to connect with the feelings, the vibrations that light you up when authenticity enters your experience. This transcends mere curiosity. It signifies the awakening of coded memory. And as you begin to remember, their grip weakens, not because you're entrenched in a battle with them, but because you cease to nourish their existence. Atlantis poses a threat to the system, for it reconnects you with your true essence. It reveals that a civilization in harmony with spirit and science, heart and intellect, is not just attainable, it has already existed. Once recalled, it can be realized anew, not through governments or institutions, but through individuals, one mind at a time. Atlantis was never intended to remain a memory. It was designed to serve as a blueprint, not for structures or technologies, but for consciousness, for the manner in which we live, create, and connect. It was an era where the inner and outer realms mirrored each other in unified harmony. A society founded not on supremacy, but on alignment. Although the physical constructs may be lost, the underlying pattern endures. The code hasn't disappeared. It has merely awaited the right frequency to reawaken. That's the magnetism, the recollection, the transition from a reality of control to one of coherence. You are not insignificant in this narrative. You are a living frequency transmitter. Each time you opt for love over fear, curiosity over judgment, or intuition over mere instruction, you align with the Atlantean flow. As more individuals embrace this, the strength of that current increases, transforming it from a mere whisper of the past into a tangible presence in the present. Atlantis wasn't solely concerned with our origins, it symbolizes our potential future. And now, more than ever, the opportunity is available to us. However, nobody is going to force you to step through it. This awakening isn't something to be imposed, it's an invitation. The choice rests with you. The new Atlantis won't rise by itself. It ascends when we rediscover who we truly are and choose to live as if we have never forgotten. We've journeyed across time, memory, and myth. Yet, we arrive at the singular aspect of this tale that truly matters: how you decide to engage with it. This isn't merely about Atlantis. It's about you and your role in the reawakening of something the world endeavored to forget but could not extinguish. Atlantis doesn't exist in crumbled ruins hidden beneath the sea. It thrives in the subtle choices you make when no one's observing. It flourishes in the integrity you maintain when the world attempts to distract you from your center. It manifests in how you remember what life genuinely signifies. You aren't just meant to exist. You're not here to tick off boxes or conform to a framework that was never designed for your fulfillment. You are here to create something new, something both ancient and entirely fresh, a way of being that cherishes the soul as much as the intellect, a journey that prioritizes inner alignment over external approval. A life that doesn't merely pursue success, but completely reshapes its meaning. In this reimagined world, success diverges from accumulation. It embodies coherence, tranquility, purpose, and presence. This is the true essence of Atlantis's return, not a city emerging from beneath the waves, but a frequency re-emerging in the fabric of your daily existence. That's the attraction, the recollection, the transformation from a realm of control to one of coherence. You play a significant role in this narrative. You are a living frequency transmitter. Each time you opt for love instead of fear, curiosity over judgment, and intuition over directive, you connect with the Atlantean current. The more individuals who make these choices, the more potent that current becomes, evolving from a mere whisper of history into a tangible presence in our current experience. Atlantis was never solely about our origins. It's about the potential paths we can traverse, and now, more than ever, the door stands open. Yet no one will compel you to enter. This awakening is not imposed, it is invited, and the choice is entirely yours. The new Atlantis won't emerge by itself. It flourishes when we recollect who we truly are, and choose to live as if we've never forgotten. We've journeyed through time, memory, and legend. Yet now, we arrive at the essential part of the story, your response to it. Because this is not merely about Atlantis, it revolves around you and your involvement in the revival of something the world tried to overlook but could not extinguish. Atlantis is not buried in the ocean's remains. It resides in the subtle choices you make when no one else is observing. It thrives in the integrity you maintain even when the world attempts to distract you from your essence. It exists in how you recall the true purpose of life. You're not here simply to exist. You're not here to tick boxes or conform to a framework that was never designed for your prosperity. You are here to create something different. An ancient yet completely novel way of being that respects the soul as much as it does the intellect. A path that prioritizes inner harmony over external approval. A life that does not merely pursue success, but fundamentally redefines it. In this new reality, success is not about accumulation. It embodies coherence, peace, purpose, and presence. That is the essence of Atlantis's return. Not a city rising from the ocean depths, but a frequency enlivening your everyday existence. You are the temple now, encompassing body, mind, and spirit. These are your instruments. The more harmoniously you align them, the clearer your memories become. Each moment of awareness in your breath, each clearly articulated word, every action grounded in authenticity. These form the foundation of the new Atlantis. It's not something lost that needs to be rediscovered. It's actively being brought into existence. Keep in mind, this journey is far from passive. Merely knowing about it is just the start. You must actively live it, articulate it, and embody it. The world isn't asking for more information. It craves living examples of what becomes possible when we awaken. That is your strength. That is your invitation. You aren't awaiting a transformation. You are the transformation. If you're still here, you've proven to be among the few who are ready to delve deeper. Subscribe to our free newsletter, Insights Academy, via the link below to access ancient wisdom that we can't share here and receive a free copy of the Kybalion to aid your journey. You were never meant to forget your true essence. You were never meant to shrink back, to doubt, or to exchange your light for ease. You were destined to remember, destined to bring this ancient rhythm into a contemporary world that desperately needs it. You serve as the link between what has come before and what is yet to unfold. Every decision from this moment onward sends vibrations through the collective consciousness. Thus, do not wait for permission. Do not wait for others to ascend. The path to remembrance is navigated by those bold enough to leave behind the familiar and follow the call of something deeper. Atlantis isn't merely a place or a goal, it's a process of awakening. And now that you've glimpsed it, unseeing is no longer an option. If this message resonates with you, please share your experience by commenting, "I understood."